Good morning, students. Today we'll discuss sulfur cycle. Sulfur is a very important constituent of amino acids like methionine, cysteine, and cysteine. They are the part of the protein as well as vitamins like biotin, thiamine, B1, and many protein enzymes that regulate photosynthesis and nitrogen fixation. Sulfur is closely associated with nitrogen in the process of protein and enzyme synthesis. Sulfur is also constituent of various aromatic oils that give plants of cabbage and onion families their characteristic odor and flavor. Hence, the cabbage, onion, and the legume families require especially large amount of sulfur. So, in this sulfur cycle, we can see the sulfur is entering into the food chain through the sediments, and then it enters into the plant system. From that it enters into the animal system, and after the death and decay it will again enter into the sediments. So sulfur, it is basically responsible for sedimentary cycle. Sulfur is another vital element for all living organism. It is minor but important element in some proteins and is indicator of acid rain. In the droplet of water vapor, it may act as regulators of climate change. Sulfur is released into the atmosphere and hydrological cycle by the withering of rocks and minerals. Once the sulfur is exposed to the atmosphere, it converts to the sulfate, that is SO4. The sulfate can be taken up by the plants where it is converted into organic forms and will move up into the food chain. Sulfur returns to the soil through deposition, or you can say decomposition of the organic material, death and decay of the organic material. From here, the sulfur can be returned to the rock cycle or taken up again in the biological cycle. Sulfur is also found in fossil fuel mixing in the biological and geological cycle. When the fossil fuel are burnt, the sulfur is released into the atmosphere again. When the concentration of sulfur in the atmosphere becomes too high, chemical reactions occur and the acid rain is produced. Sulfur is one of the components of the protein, vitamins, and the hormone. It recycles as in other biogeochemical cycle. It is essential step of the sulfur cycle. Mineralization of organic sulfur to inorganic form, that is hydrogen sulfide, oxidation of sulfide and elementary sulfur and the related components to sulfate are formed, reduction of sulfate to sulfide. Then is the microbial immobilization of sulfur compound and subsequent incorporation into the organic form of the sulfur. So in this way the sulfur cycle it operates. So sulfur cycle is a form found in the oxidation states ranging from +6 in SO4 to +2 in sulfide, allowing it to either give or receive electron depending on the environment. The original pool of sulfur in the earth was held in igneous rocks, largely as igneous pyrite, that is FeSO(S)2. The sulfur cycle has evolved with the earth, and amount of sulfur available has been continuously increasing through volcanic activities and withering of the crust in the oxygenated atmosphere. Earth's main sulfur sink is the oceans as SO2, when it is the major oxidizing agent. When SO4 is estimated by the organism, it is reduced and converted to organic sulfur, which is an essential component of protein. However, the biosphere does not act as a major sink for sulfur. Instead, the majority of the sulfur is found in the sea water or sedimentary rocks, especially pyrite rocks, shells, and evaporite rocks. The amount of sulfur in the ocean is controlled by three major processes. Number one, input from the rivers. Number two, sulfate reduction and sulfide reoxidation on continental shelves and the slopes. Third, the barrier of the anhydrite and pyrite in the oceanic crust. There is no significant amount of sulfur held in the atmosphere, with all of it coming from either the sea spray or wind blows sulfur-rich dust, neither of which is long-lived in the atmosphere. In recent times, the large amount of annual input of sulfur from the burning of coal and other fossil fuel adds a substantial amount of SO2, which acts as a major air pollutant. So, dimethyl sulfide is produced by the decomposition of dimethyl sulfopropionate, that is DMSP, from dying phytoplankton cells in the shallow levels of the ocean, and is a major biogenic gas emitted from the sea, where it is responsible for the distinctive smell of the sea along coastline. DMS is the largest natural source of sulfur gas and still only has residence time of about 1 day in the atmosphere, and in majority of it is redeposited in the ocean rather than making it to land. So major effect of human activities on the global sulfur cycle, they are: the burning of coal, natural gas, and other fossil fuel has greatly increased the atmosphere of sulfur in the atmosphere and ocean and depleted the sedimentary rock sink. Without human impact, sulfur would stay tied up in the rocks for millions of years until it was uplifted through major events and then released through erosion and withering process. Instead, it is being drilled, pumped, and burned at the steadily increasing rate over the most polluted areas. There has been 30-fold increase in the sulfate deposits. So humans, they are mining coal and extracting petroleum from the earth crust at a rate that mobilize 150 into 10 is per 12 gigasulfur per year, which is more than double the rate of 100 years ago. This results of human impact on the processes to increase the pool of oxidized sulfur, that is SO4, in the global cycle. When SO2 is emitted as an air pollutant, it forms sulfuric acid through reaction with water in the atmosphere. Once the acid is completely dissociated in water, the pH can drop to 4.3 or lower, causing damage to both man-made and natural systems. So in this sulfur cycle, we can say these from the sedimentary rocks, withering of rocks, the sulfur, it enters into the food chain. Then it will enter into the plant system and the animal system, and by their decomposition again it is released. So sulfur is a very important cycle which shows both sedimentary cycle as well as the hydrological cycle. So maximum amount of sulfur is present in the ocean as SO4, but very importantly, the sulfur, it stays very less in the atmosphere. I hope the concept is clear. Thank you.